Don't forget to subscribe, and turn on notifications. We upload daily, and check the source of this video to view all the images and videos if there was any. Media playback is unsupported on your device. Media caption: charity workers look after migrants on the Aquarius. French President Emmanuel Macron has accused the Italian government of cynicism and irresponsibility for refusing to let a stranded rescue ship packed with migrants dock in Italy. A charity looking after the 629 migrants on the Aquarius, stranded off Malta, says 2 Italian ships will help take them to Spain's port of Valencia. But Spain is at least 3 days sailing away. Mr. Macron said Italy was playing politics with the migrants. They were picked up off Libya's coast. The migrants, mainly sub-Saharan Africans, were found in inflatable boats at the weekend. They are now being looked after by Doctors Without Borders (MSF) and the French charity SOS Méditerranée aboard the Aquarius. Mr. Macron's spokesman Benjamin Griveaux said the French president recalled that, in cases of distress, those with the nearest coastline have a responsibility to respond. There is a degree of cynicism and irresponsibility in the Italian government's behavior, he quoted President Macron as saying. Most migrants who survive the perilous voyages from North Africa end up in overcrowded Italian camps, and Italy says its EU partners must ease the burden. The plan is for the Aquarius to be joined by an Italian Coast Guard ship and a warship, which will take on board most of the migrants. Then all 3 vessels will head for Valencia. SOS Méditerranée tweeted photos of fresh supplies arriving on board on Tuesday. Earlier the crew said the ship could not sail to Spain while it was overcrowded, and conditions at sea were deteriorating. Among the migrants were 7 pregnant women, 11 young children and 123 unaccompanied minors. The minors are aged between 13 and 17 and come from Eritrea, Ghana, Nigeria and Sudan, according to a journalist on the ship, Analyse Borges. 15 migrants have serious chemical burns and several suffered hypothermia, according to MSF. Image copyright AFP. Image caption: the Aquarius is operated by SOS Méditerranée and Doctors Without Borders (MSF). Italian Interior Minister Matteo Salvini described Spain's offer to take in the migrants as a victory for his government's hardline immigration policy. He refused to let the ship in, saying, "Saving lives is a duty, turning Italy into a huge refugee camp is not." Instead he urged Malta to let the Aquarius dock. His right-wing League party is in a new populist government which has pledged to stop the migrant influx to Italy and deport failed asylum seekers. The Italian Coast Guard ship Dattilo and a warship are expected to take migrants on board from the Aquarius in the coming hours. There are medics and UN Children's Fund (UNICEF) workers on the Dattilo. Media playback is unsupported on your device. Media caption: former Aquarius volunteer, the whole deck will be full of people. Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez, who took office a week ago, said he would give safe harbor to the Aquarius, after Italy and Malta had refused. The nationalist authorities on the French island of Corsica also offered to receive the Aquarius, before the latest plan involving Italian ships was announced. Aid worker Alois Vimard, also on board, told the BBC the migrants were afraid they would be returned to Libya. Malta's Prime Minister Joseph Muscat tweeted his gratitude to Spain, saying Italy had broken international rules and caused the standoff. What is the law on accepting ships? Rules on disembarking and assisting rescue ships such as Aquarius are governed by international law. The International Convention for the Safety of Life at Sea dictates that any ship learning of distress at sea must assist regardless of the circumstances. It says that the country responsible for operations in that area has primary responsibility for taking them from the ship. It also clearly states that the relevant government shall arrange for such disembarkation to be effected as soon as reasonably practicable. Image copyright SOS Méditerranée. Image caption: SOS Méditerranée posted photos of rescued migrants. A big question for Spain: what happens to the next ship? By Kevin Connolly, Europe correspondent, BBC News. The European Union wrote its rules about how migrants should be handled in the 1990s when no one could have imagined the collapse of Libya would create huge flows of desperate people heading across the Mediterranean from sub-Saharan Africa and the Middle East. The rules say migrants are the responsibility of the first member state where they land, an overwhelming problem in countries like Greece and Italy where the election of a populist government is at least in part a response to the pressure. So the migrants are starting to shape the politics of southern Europe. And when Matteo Salvini proclaims victory, he's telling his voters that the promise of a tougher line on immigration is real. He's challenging the EU to find a proper solution to, based on forcing other member states to accept quotas of migrants, something it's failed to do so far. And he's incidentally created a big question for Spain. Will its offer to the Aquarius be extended to further ships in the future?